ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Elevated Podcast. Today, we're going to cover some stories, some political things, some controversial things, but it should be an interesting conversation. I'm joined with my Uncle Alan.
What up, what up?
So, let's get started on the migrant thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was doing some research, and in Biden's term, approximately, and I'm going to just jump right into this. In Biden's term, approximately 7+ million illegals have crossed the border, or illegal crossings, whatever, right? I mean, so that's one.
Is it illegal crossings or
Illegal crossings?
Or they're counting them as encounters, right? Because I know they changed the terminology to where it's encounters.
Well, the counters, crossings, they have.
Now there's a difference.
But
go ahead, I'll let you finish.
So what I'm saying is, though, and from what the articles have said, it's they've crossed illegally, and that's it. And now what a lot of them do is when they get caught, they say, "Oh, I'm seeking asylum," because then once you do that, it's they just process you. But so approximately, right, 7 million. New York City from 2022 has 8 million people living in it. So just for context and comparison, we have $10,000 credit cards being issued, supposedly, right?
Allegedly.
That which is paid for by taxpayers, by us, right? What else we have? We have there was videos of hotels of where the migrants are staying, the asylum seekers, and it's very interesting that you don't see a woman or child in sight. It's all men, approximately from 18 to 25, military age, which is interesting. What are your thoughts on all this? Do you think that it's what are your thoughts on it before we go anything else?
So all right, so first the whole that in itself, like the military, whatever,
military-aged men.
Like, what are we really talking about, right? So since the beginning of time, right, when it came to, and even if you look in nature, right, if you look at nature, look at lions, for example, right? You have the male lion, the alphas, right? What do? They don't stay with the pride. Normally, they stay with them for a little bit of time, and then they venture off and they go do other things, right? And then the pride usually follows them. And so I'm only bringing that up, right? Because in like the migrant situations, it's always been where the father or the head of the household would go seek promise of a new, like go seek like promise of a better land, and then the family would follow. Like the men always traveled without the women and children, so only because it was so dangerous on the road, right? So when you say military-aged men, you could age that back to the very first migrant that crossed our border. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that they're using that sort of like terminology, in my opinion, is just like basically like a buzzword. You know what I'm saying? Like they're trying to
spark something.
They're
speculate.
Right. Exactly.
Which I mean, but see, that's the thing. It's like my issue is that I think they're doing it purposely. It's like because the border can get shut down, like without a doubt. You know what I'm saying? It's not like like they could build a wall. I mean, have you seen Egypt's wall? Right, on the border of Israel, or whatever. Not to go into that fucking into that rabbit hole because I'm tired of that.
Right.
But like the U.S. wants to send 60. So they didn't do it, but they wanted to send 60 billion to Ukraine. It takes less than $1 billion to build the fucking wall. The wall that Egypt has, which is freaking massive and it's crazy, took them, I think it was 400 million. Right. So let's just, for inflation, right? Let's just say $1 billion. We could build a pretty decent wall, and I think we have the personnel to watch it, to secure the perimeter, whatever vocabulary words people want to use. But I think it's very possible that we can secure the border. I think they're just purposely not doing it.
Well, what do you mean by secure the border? Because
I think we could secure the border. I think we could stop the illegal and crossing, because this is what happens, right?
To say that you want the border to be secured, it implicates that it's not secured.
It's not.
Right? So how would you figure it's not secured? All right, so in order for you to say that it's not, right, then you must have some sort of evidence to support that, right? And so my evidence that it is secure, right, is that we have Border Patrol agents that are right now patrolling, right now as we speak, right?
Okay.
They're apprehending people trying to cross the border illegally. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, but they also have Border Patrol agents at every port of entry. They have them all across the border. So to say that it's not secure would implicate that those people weren't there and there weren't anyone there. You know what I'm saying?
I see. I hear what you're saying. This is what I would say. Our own President Biden, has publicly said that our border is not secure, and then he went on to say that it's because of Trump, which is a whole nother story.
Right.
So you said we have the Border Patrol agents that are actively apprehending individuals who illegally cross, which is correct. But let's talk about the people that walk right past them while they're, trying to apprehend the ones that they caught. Because you got, let's say, 10 agents, right?
Right.
There's probably more, but just for conversation's sake, I want to use these numbers. You got 10 agents and they're dealing with 15 people. 200 people crossed at the one time. So
Right.
all those other people got, they just left. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the video though, where it was a bunch of National Guard and they had guns and they were literally at the border, and then the mob just rushed through the gate.
No, I didn't see that video.
Yeah, there's a video, and I'll show it to you after because I don't want to go look for it right now.
Yeah. We don't
But there's a video that shows a mob of illegals just storming through the port of entry or wherever it was. It was like a fence.
Right.
Bust through and started running.
Okay.
To me, that's not secure. When the Department of Homeland Security talks about how there's multiple terrorists that have gotten away, gotaways into our country, to me, that's not secure. When we apprehend people at the border who have there was literally a man who said, he was a Hezbollah terrorist, right? And he was on his way to New York to make a bomb, right?
Okay.
That's just one person they caught, and it's a
And they
known.
caught him though, right?
They caught him, yes.
Right. So that would mean
But
that the border-
there's another story of
Yeah.
one that made it through, and then they call him later because he blew up on the internet. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's accounted for, like, there's how many terrorists have made it past the border. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Statistically, that it's a lot. They said that it was about like 25,000% increase in terrorist gotaways, right? And I mean, you never know, but they're not just coming up with these numbers out of their ass. Department of Homeland Security. So to me, it's not secure. I mean,
Well, remember, a lot of this stuff is they use a lot of terminology because it's a heavily politicized issue, right? And so they kind of a lot of times they want to spark that, but the words escaping me, right? But they want to like incite emotion, right? They want to have people to be on the fence one way or the other, right? They be like not on the fence. They wanna
100%.
be,
I'm
like,
with you.
either you believe the wall's secure or you believe the wall is not secure. You know what I mean? Or the border, excuse me, right? And even when we built the wall, right? So now, would it surprise you if I told you that there was about the same amount of, like, I forgot the exact number, but would it surprise you if like the numbers were not that off from the amount of people that entered the country illegally when Trump was in office as when Biden was in office? Like, would that surprise you at all?
If the numbers were the same or close to
Or
the
were
same?
they close to the same, right?
Yeah.
It would surprise you, right?
It would surprise me because
Because people said, the media especially say, oh, well, the border was more secure under Trump, which is all bullshit, right? So,
well, we weren't hearing stories of this. It wasn't like a big politicized issue right now.
right.
And what my thing is, because the media is against Trump. Everybody, like,
No,
the
I
media,
wouldn't say that. I wouldn't
dude,
say that.
the media is heavily against Trump. They
Why?
spread.
Why would you say that?
Well, wait. I'll go back to
I'm
that.
sorry, go ahead.
But let's continue because I will break that down too.
Okay.
But they would have blasted it on social media, on news networks, that Trump's border was not secure, and they couldn't. There was no stories of thousands of migrants, millions of migrants crossing the border, illegally. Now we have an issue in New York for asylum seekers. This wasn't a thing. The only thing, and I would say the only thing that did change, right, and maybe the numbers were the same, right, and the only thing that did change was that instead of keeping them in Mexico, they ended up coming into these sanctuary cities.
Right.
So if the numbers were the same,
Right.
I would understand that maybe, okay, because of that, now we're seeing them in the States is why there's so much uptick
influx,
in videos and whatever not, and whatnot.
Mhm.
But then I hear stories of freaking human trafficking through the border. They're catching these freaking rapists, human traffickers, terrorists they're catching. And then it's like the question is, if there's millions of people that are crossing, how many of them are terrorists? How many of them are rapists, murderers? You know what I mean? Kidnappers.
Right. No, I get it. And so to that point, right, you have millions of people, right, that are crossing. And out of those millions of people, right, what was the whole thing behind people not wanting to take the COVID vaccine, right? Was, COVID, It says the chance of you dying is like 0.01% or some shit, right? So when you break down the numbers to like the migrants that are getting caught for these crimes, it breaks down to probably less than what people thought was killing them with COVID. You know what I'm saying? So, but the fact that it's so heavily politicized in the media is why people feel like it's occurring more than it actually is, or that it's an epidemic or it's a crisis. There's no crisis at the border. The problem is that there's an influx, absolutely an influx of migrants, because, like you said, Trump kept those people in Mexico, right? Eventually, they were going to have to come to the United States.
Yeah.
Eventually. It was only a matter of time. And now that Biden lifted a lot of those restrictions that Trump put in place to keep those people in, mind you, now the people that are seeking asylum, those aren't illegal immigrants, right? These are legal migrants. That's like a big thing that most people can't distinction, right? They can't make that distinction. You have to be able to make that distinction. Crossing the border illegally means that you're not going to a port of entry and asking them for asylum. You're not seeking asylum that way. You're trying to cross somewhere where there's no border patrol agent to greet you and ask you like, hey, where are you coming from? You know what I'm saying? Like you'll see the difference. Like the video you talked about.
And 100%, there is a difference.
Right.
And I mean, but even with the ones that are seeking asylum, we see what happened with the people that jumped that cop in Times Square. They got off diddly squat.
Well, but,
you know what I'm saying?
Right. But now, all right. So now you're.
That was a weird term to say.
That wasn't. Yeah. That was also a weird transition because you're kind of conflating two different issues.
No, because it's like at the end of the day, we're letting these people, asylum seekers, or illegal immigrants. It's like. On both sides, there's going to be good people that want to chase that American dream and find a better life, right?
Right.
My thing is, I think it's being taken advantage of by the people overseas, because it's not just people from freaking Mexico and Venezuela.
No,
we have people from Iraq. We have people from China.
Right.
There's a TikTok,
right.
And I don't want to keep jumping over, but it's going to tie into the general point. There's a TikTok, a trending video that shows you how to get into the U.S. illegally. It shows you where this fence is, that the fence is cut open. It shows you how to get there, and it says, if you get caught, claim asylum, and they have to take you.
Right, but that's a TikTok video, right? So
but it's a TikTok video that's seen by millions of people, and people are using it.
Right, but are they actually crossing that way? And
yes.
If they are,
there's videos of them of people crossing. The whole video shows like the process of them crossing into the.
So these are illegal migrants, illegal
immigrants. They're illegal
crossing the border illegally on TikTok.
I mean,
they've documented themselves crossing the border.
Yes,
that sounds crazy to me, but I'd have to watch.
But this is
I'm not going to say it didn't happen or it doesn't happen.
It is crazy.
I'm sure it will.
What I'm saying.
I'm sure it does. But my point is that type of stuff, you might not have seen it, but it was happening under Trump as well. That's the whole reason why he wanted the wall to begin with.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
But I just don't think, and the numbers that I've looked at, the research, even looking at Trump's term, and you see how many people came in, or asylum seekers there was, the numbers aren't the same as Biden's.
Right, because he stopped processing asylum seekers altogether.
But it's not, the asylum seekers is different though. Illegal immigration. Illegals crossing the border. There was more of them in Biden's term than Trump's.
No, that's not. I don't think that's a fact. And I only say that because I recently was like debating that with someone, and I found something. I don't have the fact. I should have brought it with me. I should have been more prepared. So I apologize. But so I will give you that point because I don't have the evidence right now to dispute that. But I will say that I don't believe that that's accurate, right? And so at the end of the day, what I was going to say is, like the whole thing with Trump and Biden, right? Is this is a hot topic. There's an election coming, right? So this is like one of the issues where Trump's going to come in and say, oh, yeah, I'm going to clean the halls. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just something that, like, it's just bullshit for us to, like, keep us busy and to realize that both of these motherfuckers are no good for this country, right? Like, right now we have two political candidates that neither party wants. You know what I'm saying? Like,
okay.
They obviously, and let me say, like, the people, not the actual party themselves, right? Because you have the people in politics that, of course, they want, you know what I'm saying? The Republicans, of course, they want Trump, right? But when you go to the actual people in the states and the everyday people, Trump doesn't represent a lot of those people. Biden doesn't represent a lot of those people. Like, Biden doesn't, I don't represent, you know what I mean? Like, well, I would have never voted for Biden.
I've met a lot of people that are vouching for Trump. I mean, even because, I'm on the podcast space, I meet a lot of people in the comments. There's a lot of people that come out and they really like Trump that's why Trump's leading in the polls. That's the people. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then electoral college is a different story. That's when it's the Republicans and Democrats. I mean, but let's transition into no. Because the migrant crisis, I mean,
well, all right, wait,
we'll touch on that.
Yeah, I wanted to make one point about the migrant situation. I'm sorry.
No, we're gonna stick on this, and then then we'll really dive deep into this Trump versus Biden thing. Right. But what was that point?
So the migrant situation, right? So what you were saying with as far as like with crime that's coming into the people are saying like these people are coming here and they're not coming here to like do good. They're coming here to commit crimes and shit like that. And in all reality, crime exists everywhere, right? We have people that are going to come here and they're going to do stupid shit. And guess what? Those people are going to be deported, right? We deal with them like we deal with criminals that were born here, right? In the same way. Just because they came from someplace else doesn't mean that the whole group are those kind of people, right? And now the situation in Times Square, right? If you really analyze what happened and what transpired in that situation, right? If you watch the video carefully, right? The officers are there and they're telling the guys to move along, right? And the guy is talking a little bit of shit. He's not moving as fast as the officer wanted. And so at that point, when the officer's like telling him to move, even though he was moving, the officer decided, you know what? Fuck that. You're not moving fast enough. And so he just grabs him, right? And then after he grabs him is when the whole altercation begins. But now who's in the wrong in that situation, right? This guy might have been talking shit. He might have been, reluctant to move, and he might have, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, okay, so that argument, I can see it, right? It's like the cop is being an asshole,
right?
And maybe did he deserve it? But it boils down to what's happening lawfully right now. An officer just got jumped, regardless if he was in the wrong, right? He got jumped, and the system just let these guys out. If it was anybody else,
they would have been let out too.
No, they wouldn't. If it was a black man, he would have been in jail. Though. If he would have been done for. He would have been done for.
Statistically,
he would have been done for.
That's a whole separate issue.
A white man, I think he still would have been in jail longer. I mean, like these guys walked out, no bail, nothing.
Well, because of the bail reforms that we have in New York State, I think pretty much anybody would have, you know what I'm saying, like would have walked out. And I think because of what the DA said, that amount of, not all of them walked out. It was only 2 guys that walked out, right? They had like 7 people that they locked up. And so with the bail reforms that we have, right? So now if they really don't have evidence, they're going to let you out.
Close to the mic.
They're really going to, you know what I mean? So it's, my point is this, right? Like, so yes, were they wrong for jumping that police officer or those police officers? Absolutely, right? Because at the end of the day, that's not something that you're supposed to be doing, right? But at the same time, you got to understand, right? So we as American citizens, we're kind of programmed to just taking the shit when it comes to police, right? When they misbehave and they act, inappropriately, we just kind of like just go along with it and say, fuck it, all right, whatever, you got it. Now you have these guys that are coming from a whole nother country and they don't know any, you know what I mean? Like they don't understand to just bow down and.
But you should still. What I mean? Well, no. If you see a law enforcement, you listen and be like, okay, he's saying.
But if
like that,
if they're doing something wrong, right? So like,
I would argue that both of them were in the wrong because you see I seen the video. You see the officer trying to ask you to move, and as a decent person that you're trying to seek asylum from wherever you're coming from, right? Because life is so bad that you want to be in America so you can be safe.
Right.
You're gonna sit on the corner with your boys, probably doing dumb shit, probably hollering at ladies walking by.
Right.
And you see the officer trying to ask you to move, and you're not going to do it. You're going to be a little bit of an asshole.
But he did do it, though. That's what I'm saying.
But he was being caught. Like, you seen the video. He's like,
he's talking
moving
shit.
Slow. He's talking shit.
Right, but
if I went to another corner, this is my argument.
But that's the argument in itself, right? So he asked him to move, right? The officer asked the guy to move, and the guy moved. So he's complying with the officer's commands. So where's the problem? You see what I'm saying?
Well, where's the problem? Okay. I see what you're saying. I'm not trying to say the officer was in the right. What I'm saying is that the system, our system isn't built right now to handle all of this shit. You know what I'm saying?
And that's a different.
And that's another argument too.
Right.
It's like,
I can agree on that.
Why is it that we're getting all these people, right? Like our tax, we don't need to be spending our fucking tax money. They don't need us to be spending our tax money on them, right? We don't a whole hotel is shut down. Multiple hotels are shut down because they have to house these people.
Right.
I think that's insane. I think the border is not secure. The fact that terrorists have came in, I think there are terrorists walking around right now planning and trying to do some fuckery.
So do you feel like there weren't any terrorists before that? Because 9/11 happened.
100. No, obviously
we've had attacks prior to that.
They can't just walk through the fucking border.
Right, but
Like they couldn't just walk right through the border.
what do you mean? Of course they could. How else did they get in here?
Not the way they're doing it now, though.
Well,
That is my argument. Now
alright.
it's like, okay, this was the opening, right? And just for like figurative
Yeah.
figurative terms, like this was the opening in Trump's, right? People were still going through. I'm not disputing that.
Right.
Now it's kind of like this.
Right.
And they're just like, all right, guys.
So what you're saying is, if I'm hearing you correctly, right? So, because I remember, Trump, and I'm sorry to cut you off. So
That's all right.
Trump was bragging about the wall that he built, right? So what you're saying is that whatever Trump did was inadequate, and it failed, and it didn't work.
They didn't.
And
Well,
so-
Trump barely got the wall built because they were actively fighting against it.
But what he did do, what he got done, wasn't enough, and it didn't work, right? That's what you're saying.
No,
No.
I get. Yeah, okay. That's
Why,
that.
why are you not saying that?
I
What do you
meant
mean?
to say. I meant to say yes. If that's.
Yeah, right.
I'm
So-
going with your point.
Right. So then that means that there was more work to be done, and when Trump left office, that he basically left it for the
Well,
next guy.
there
to
was
finish.
there was 100% more work to be done, but they were actively trying to fight him on it. I mean, they were giving him shit about keeping asylum seekers at the border, which I think was is a good idea. Do I think they should have and me and Marcos have this conversation? Should there have been more judges to process these people faster? 100%.
Well, with COVID, they really couldn't do that. So.
And then the COVID happened again. So there's multiple variables about this. But
Right.
this is my thing, right?
Mhm.
I want to say this is what I think is going on, because I never think that I'm like a conspiracy theorist, I guess, right?
Mhm.
I think they're purposely letting these people, letting this amount of people just come on by, because I think that they're trying to use these people as voters. And
Okay.
that might sound crazy, right? And I'm not saying that they're gonna, and they're allowed to go to the fucking schools and cast a ballot.
Mhm.
But then when we look at electoral college, and that's based on census, and
Mhm.
all these people are gonna vote for Biden if he's on the ballot, right?
Well, how they don't
I think
vote? These migrants don't vote. So
they
how-
can. There's
how?
There's videos of them talking about there's videos of this guy going around asking migrants like, yo, if you could vote, right?
If
Who
you
would
could.
you vote for?
Right. If you could
But
vote.
if you could, whatever. But
Right. So that's a moot point because they're not voting.
but what I'm saying is obviously they can't cast a ballot. I mean,
Right.
if these people are fucking crazy, if they really wanted to, it would happen. But
But we're talking
if it's about
hypothetical.
census, if you all right,
So
if they're
ce-
asylum seekers, right?
Right.
Then they get, let's say now they get a part of the census, right?
Mhm.
That means there's more senators or whatever it might be that counts toward the electoral college, right? Because it might be like I'll use representative as a word because I don't know the official term for who counts as that electoral vote.
Right.
But for New York, you might have one, and California might have two because it's a bigger city and
Right.
more population or something like that, right? So now if you have an influx of people in New York, now you need a few more representatives. Now you have three.
That
Those
only
three
applies-
people
Yeah, but
will then go to the electoral college and then help
Right.
for the votes for the
Right.
election.
But now let me break it down for you, right? So you're right, but the way you're kind of making the disconnect there, right, is that the census does work in that way, right? Where if the population rises, right, then obviously needs to be more representation in government. But the part that you're missing is that they have to be U.S. citizens, right? So it has to be citizens that they don't count. It's not like okay. So the U.S. Census.
So
I'm not going to say the
I get what
U.S.
you're
Census
saying.
doesn't count non-U.S. citizens.
I get what you're
'cause
saying.
do.
They have to be U.S. citizens. They have to be processed fully. I get that point.
Right.
My point is, I don't think it's ever that simple, and especially with people, Republicans and Democratic alike, there's a lot of corruption.
Of course.
And I think it's not that hard for them to pass some laws. I mean, like the shit that's happened in this country, the shit in Trump's, in Biden's, in Obama's, the shit that's happened and just swept under the rug. Nobody thought of. Nobody talks about it. I mean, two guys had sex in a fucking judicial hearing room on
Right.
video, and nobody talks about it. Right?
Well, I
Things
mean,
have happened, and that
yeah.
was just because something that I want to talk about later. Shit gets swept under the rug all the time. There's corruption happening. There's monopolies all over the country.
Right, but
So to tie into the point is like this shit is possible. They could be doing this. I
they
mean,
could.
they
but
have
we're gonna
actively, and from my research, they have actively tried to sway the election before, and they have did it. I mean, with the Twitter files, with Russian collusion for Trump, they've actively
So
they
wait, so
actually
you
fucked
think
with the
that-
election.
All right, so wait, so you believe
hold on,
that,
let me finish my point. Is that they've done these things, so they are capable of doing it again in another way. And that's all I'm saying.
But so wait, so when you mean like they've done these things, what do you mean exactly? Because the Twitter files, or what the Twitter files proved is that the U.S. government was wrong, right? They assumed that there was information that was being spread on the internet that was false, and they thought it was like a cyber attack from Russia or wherever the fuck they thought it was from.
No.
Either way, they thought it was bullshit, and they thought it was propaganda, and so they decided to shit can it, right?
So what I mean by Twitter files, right? Let's talk about Hunter Biden's laptop.
Right.
A lot of people that voted for Joe Biden said if they knew about the Hunter Biden laptop, they wouldn't have voted. They would have voted differently. I'm not gonna say voted for Trump, but they would have voted differently.
Okay.
So for me, if you're purposely and FBI, right, like literally went out in public and said we do not know what you're talking about. Hunter Biden laptop. We're in no possession. We don't know about it. They lied.
Right.
They lied about that. This came out. Articles about it. I mean, I have the literally what the FBI said directly. Right now, we know that they were in possession of it. And then now we know that they were, in, I'm not going to say cahoots, but they were actively communicating with Twitter, right? And telling Twitter that, okay, any story about maybe this, and Hunter Biden's laptop can't go. It's not. We're not putting it down. You guys shoot it down, right? That's interfering with people's, with information. You're not getting the story out there. And if that's a story that might sway people's decision on who they're going to vote for, because people did come out and say they would have changed their mind.
Right.
That is election interference.
But so what you're arguing is like, it's not, I would say, not conjecture, but it's kind of vague in a sense where you're like assuming like a hypothetical, right? That people would have voted differently.
No, there was polls done.
Right. Yeah, but. Right. So now looking back, hindsight's 20/20.
I mean, looking back, so we would never know.
People could say whatever they want to say, but in the moment, right? Like I know for me, I voted. The only reason why I voted for Biden was because Trump had already failed, right? So he already failed. There was no reason for me to give him another chance to fail again. You know what I'm saying? Like everywhere, like all across the board, he basically failed in every category, right? And so for that was the only reason why I said, all right, if the only option is Biden or Trump, then fuck it, I'm not going to let Trump, get another term. Okay. He already fucked us up once.
So let's go in on that. What did Trump fail at? Because I want to get into your head.
Right. So he failed on a lot of things, right? But all right. So first and foremost, right? So granted, people like to argue that the COVID, pre-COVID, the economy was great and it was booming and there was all this and that, and in reality, that's not even accurate, right? If you look at the economy back then, right, we had the oil crash, right? The oil industry crashed under Trump in 2018, right? Nobody likes to talk about that, right? That happened before COVID. The oil industry literally crashed under Trump, and what did he do? He ran out and he ran to our enemies, right? He ran to he ran to Saudi Arabia. He ran to all these people.
I wouldn't say Saudi Arabia.
He went to OPEC.
Depending on where in Saudi Arabia.
Well, I'm just saying he ran to OPEC and demanded that they do certain things, right? He went to he actually is on tape.
So you're telling me he tried to fix it?
No, he didn't try to fix it. He tried to fuck it, right? He basically fucked it, not knowing what he was doing. He tried. All right, so you know what? Actually, right, I'll give him that. He tried to fix it, right? But him not knowing what the fuck he was doing, he actually fucked it up worse, right? So you know what I mean? Like before COVID, there were economists that were predicting another recession, right? Before COVID even occurred, right? And so now, if you look at the style, like people like to compare numbers, right? So that's what I do. I compare numbers, right? The unemployment rate under Trump and Biden, if you look at the unemployment rates, right, under Trump, pre-COVID, the lowest they got was 3.5%, right? Under Biden, it hit 3.4% twice, right? So at the end of the day, you know what I mean? Like, if you're talking about the economy today under Biden is worse than it was under Trump, then how is it that the unemployment rate could have hit a lower number, not once but twice, under Biden, right? And then not only that, but with the jobs, right? You say people talk about the job growth, and then they talk about black unemployment. Black unemployment hit a lower number under Biden than it did under Trump. So, you know what I mean? But like when it comes to like failures and shit like that, right? When Trump left office, and this is what I based my decision on, right? When Trump left office, how many good things did he pass on to the next administration, right? Well, how many things can I, when I go to this voting booth, right, and I go to the polls and I go cast my ballot, right, how many things can I say that Trump passed on to the next administration that could lead them to success, right? I had nothing. And so for that reason alone was the reason why I voted against him, right? Because at the end of the day, you're not passing over, our economy was in the toilet. You had people that were dying from COVID. I would say because of COVID. The country was shut down, right?
I think if COVID wouldn't have happened, the economy would have still been good. I'm not going to say, and I think it would have. I'm not going to say it would have been fucking skyrocketed because we don't know at the end of the day.
That's debatable, right?
It's debatable.
Right.
But the only reason that that there was nothing, I'm not gonna say that there was nothing good. But again, I don't have the points to back up that argument. So I'm again, I'll let you have that point, right?
Right.
COVID fucked a lot of shit up, and I mean,
It did. But remember, COVID carried on to the Biden administration.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So if it fucked up shit for Trump, you got to also give Biden that same grace, right? Because if you're going to complain that gas prices were high and inflation and all this other shit, and not attribute that to COVID, then you're just not being fair. You know what I'm saying? So
okay.
at the end of the day, like, I don't even like Biden. The fact that people like my friends are avid like Trump supporters online, right?
Yeah.
And we got into this weird fucking place where they're like, "Oh, you're a fucking Biden supporter." And I'm like, I don't like Biden. I don't give a fuck about the guy. All I ask you is
he was just better than Trump in your opinion.
And he was on my only choice at the time, right? And
was
which
your
is a
only choice.
fucked up
Okay.
situation because there was millions of other people like me who felt like we had no other choice.
You know, I could get with that. I think it's sad that Trump and Biden are the best this country can produce.
Right.
I really like Vivek Ramaswamy. I don't know how you feel about him, but I really thought he was
I don't
good.
like that guy. He's a fucking douchebag.
I don't think he's a douchebag.
I think he's trying too hard.
I don't think he's trying to. I think he's just being very blunt in what he's saying. I think and there's a lot of truth to what he says. And I mean, partially because he aligns a lot with Trump, which is probably why you don't like him, and because he's more towards that camp. But I mean, I've watched podcasts on him, interviews, all this, and it's like, let me tell you where my head is at with Trump, right? Because I would say, like, if I had to vote, I would vote for Trump, right? And this is where my head is, right? So 2015, 2016, when Trump had first gotten elected, everybody in my environment told me to Trump was the bad guy. Trump was the devil. He was Hitler. He's just downright bad, right? And then I'm like, okay, I went with it. I didn't like Trump, but I didn't know why I didn't like Trump. I just knew that everybody everywhere told me not to like Trump, and I was still in middle school, so I didn't have any homework. And that's normally how, as a kid, that's how life works. You know,
right.
You got everybody telling you to feel some type of way, and you just go with it.
Yeah. You like, fuck it. I don't really care enough to.
So then I started, and then they would talk shit about his siblings, his son, and then I was like, okay, whatever. Then I watched the podcast, and it was Donald Trump Jr., right? And I was like, what he's saying is not hitting any nerves. And I think I have a good moral system of,
compass.
Good moral compass. You know what I mean? If you say some shit, I'm gonna be like, yo, like, that's wild. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when he's on a podcast and he's talking and I'm listening to the whole thing, there was nothing that he said that I was really like, yo, this guy is nuts, right? And that's just his son, right? Then I heard Trump on a podcast, and I was like, nothing that he's saying right now, right? And I would say that a podcast, watching a full 2 hour, 1 hour podcast of somebody is better than getting the clips that CNN will play for you. You know what I'm saying? And that's all I had based on my opinions on was CNN clips, which they manipulate a lot of clips.
Yeah, the media does that.
The media does that.
For both sides.
Where I came was, I was watching, I was like, yo, everything he's saying, it's like, I don't see anything wrong with this. Like, he's Make America Great Again. I mean, there's debatable on that. When was America ever great? Right. When was America great for these people? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, arguable. But then, like, all right, what does he really mean by making America great again? I mean, is it really that deep where he's saying, does it really go that deep, or is he just trying to get people's attention, right? Which is what it was. I mean, what does Trump have to, like, let's look at the way he talks and the way he spoke in his rallies or whatever. What is, like, that's how he had to get people's attention. Because what does Trump have in common with the average day white folk or minority? Nothing at all. So he had to speak in a way that was like, yo, what's he saying?
Right, and that's part of the reason why I didn't like him.
But that's also that's all. I can understand that. I can understand that.
Not that Biden's genuine, but
I think it's strategic, and he knew what he was doing. Right. Do I think it was deceitful? I don't think it was deceitful. Did he say a lot of controversial things? 100%.
Right.
That he was a mean shit talker on Twitter.
Right. 100%.
I give him that. But then economy, right? Now I don't have points to back this up either because I was still young, right? I didn't know. I wasn't dealing with gas prices and taxes and interest rates. But from my surroundings, everything was pretty good. I wasn't really worried about I wasn't really worried about terrorist attacks. Migrants raping my women and Diddy taking my children. Like, I wasn't worried about this, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Poor Diddy. Leave Diddy alone, man.
Diddly.
Diddy.
So what I'm saying, and the reason that I fell into where I am now is that the more I watch podcasts and the more I see the genuine conversations and you know, and I'm looking for character flaws.
Right.
And I just couldn't find them. Could I find the arguments for, okay, he shouldn't have said this? Like he like there's certain things that he says I can't think of them. I'm sure you can. But it's like, you know, the position you're in. Why would you say that? You know what I mean? Why would you do that?
That
makes no sense.
Right. See, so for me, right, listen, Trump's a New Yorker. Right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
He's not a politician. That's why he is the way he is.
Right. But at the end of the day, he tried to come across as a politician, right? And say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And New Yorkers saw through the bullshit. Like, bro, you're not doing any of that. Who are you lying to?
Well,
you know
a lot of New
saying?
Yorkers are now want Trump back.
Right. But that's because they like him personally as a person, right? They can't argue any policies that they, you know what I'm saying, that actually worked in his favor or worked for the country. They can't do that, right? They could tell you the shit that he said. And did he see what he did? Like they could do that.
What the issue is nowadays is that they will tell you, but because we're on two separate sides, what we say is going to be no, that's not true.
But if it's not true, it's not true.
Like I can no. See, but like because even Marcos had brought up this fact. He's like, my facts aren't your facts, and there's a point to that because
that's stupidity. Because facts are facts.
No, because. Because it depends on the context as well. Because you might believe something, right? Like I talked about the 7 million, whatever, right?
Right.
You might not believe that's true, right? Or
no,
you believe that the numbers of people crossing in Biden and Trump's are like the same. I said I don't believe that's true.
Well, yeah.
Now my facts tell me something, and I choose to believe it, and then your facts tell you something. So you're gonna assume that my facts are wrong. Right, and I would do the same. I would do the same to you.
But I wouldn't.
But this is what's going on.
Assume that they're wrong, right? Me personally, right? I'm gonna look and see if those numbers are accurate, right? That's the only thing I'm looking for, right?
That's something that's positive. A lot of people don't do that. So what I'm saying is that we have people on one side and people on the other that say, okay, Trump did this, and this, and then the other side is gonna be like, no, he didn't. You're chatting. He did this, and this is why we don't want him.
Right.
So.
But there's people that don't want to accept that he didn't do this, and this. And then, right, to your point, there's people that don't want to accept, well, he did this, and that, right? But I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that looks for the shit that he had. Because, and truth be told, when Trump was running, right, I didn't go out there wanting to hate this guy. Like, I was just like, all right, he's a dick, but so what? Fuck him. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he's going to do what he actually said he was going to do, right? Because my guy was Bernie, right? Bernie was my guy, and not because of all the free shit that people were fucking crying about, right? But because he was talking about breaking the wheel, right? Breaking the way that we do politics in this country, right? Breaking the whole cycle of taking money out of politics. And you know what I'm saying? Like taking all the big money and super PACs and all that shit, get it all out of there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's the only way to have a legitimate fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like election, right? Because if you got these super PACs, which Trump and Biden are both part of, right? You're not having a real election.
I wouldn't say Trump is a part of a super PAC.
Yeah, of course they are.
Who's donating to Trump?
What do you mean? His supporters. He started off with conservative like super PACs.
But
right?
What do you mean? The only thing that he started off, he was funding his own campaign.
He raised it from his supporters. Right?
Okay, supporters. So, yes. What do you mean by supporters? Who? What companies?
His voters. No,
voters. So voters.
Some of his voters, but he did also have a lot of other contributors. Right.
From
I don't know all the facts right now.
Okay.
But I will say it ain't like he's not part of a super PAC.
I'm not. So see, and this is like the conversation will get so deep, right?
Right.
Because when we say, so I consider Trump, and this is might help the conversation, anti-establishment, right? I would consider him part of those that, you know, take the money out of politics, break that wheel.
But how? Why would you figure that if he's
he's not a part of the establishment?
Because he would never be a part of the establishment.
What are you talking about?
You get that? Like, all right. So what I'm saying is, right? Here's my argument when people say that. In order to be part of the establishment, right, you got to be part of the game, right? If Trump wasn't part of the establishment, he would have never been allowed to run for president. Jesse Ventura is not part of the establishment. Never in the motherfucking world. Never has he ever been on any national ticket. Right?
I see what you're saying, and that's why. That's why the establishment were so mad when he won, because he's not part of them. So now you have a guy who's not going to listen to what the establishment tells him, which is what Biden does. So this is what I'm saying, right? When I say establishment, who do I mean? I mean companies and corporations that are in control of a lot of things, right? And specifically, what do I mean? I mean Pfizer, right?
Okay.
right, democratic leaning. I don't know the difference between left and right or whatever, right?
Right.
All these terms get to my fucking head.
Mm-hmm.
Pfizer, right? Top contributor for the Democratic Party, right? In Biden's term, right? Pfizer, right? That's a big fucking corporation.
Right.
During COVID.
Okay.
Pretty interesting. All the money they made during COVID went straight to Biden.
Right.
Whatever.
Okay.
I'm not trying to make a point, but that's what it's going on. That's what it looks like. Then we have BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, all donating money to to the super PACs for the Democratic Party.
And they
now BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. Do you know about those companies?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So you know about them?
Everything.
They own everything. Exactly.
They own everything.
They're not fucking with Trump.
They don't fuck with Trump. How?
They don't fuck with Trump. Trump has publicly spoken out about them.
But you realize
if Trump was the devil, and if he was really a part of them, he would have never said anything about it, and he would have been making a whole bunch of money.
But all right, so
Trump has literally lost billions of dollars.
But that's because of who? Because of him. That's not because of anybody else.
No,
the reason why he didn't take a salary. This is why people don't understand, right? They think that he was so grateful he didn't even take a salary from the only reason why he didn't do that was because it would have opened him up to taxes that he wouldn't have been part of, right?
Okay.
If you take
I say
salary,
that he's smart for that.
That's an income tax, right? Yes, yeah, that is very smart, right? It's a smart business thing to do.
Yes.
But that's what I'm saying. Like Trump, you gotta remember, Trump is like a mogul. He's part of this corporation. There's a Trump entity, right? So at the end of the day, he doesn't pay taxes because he doesn't operate as you and I operate. He operates as an entity, right? As a corporate entity, which is why he's allowed to do certain things that me and you can't. You see what I'm saying?
I understand.
And the average Joe can't.
So for me, right? When we see this civil case, right, that's happening in New York City, that he has to pay about $355 million, close to, which is going to end up being about $1 billion, close to.
Right.
He has to pay. When I look at that case, and you really do your research on that case, and when you're saying, he has to pay money, right, because of him, it's not because of him. The judge, right, so the prosecuting attorney, right, Letitia James. Letitia James. Whatever. I think it's Letitia. I don't know.
Yeah, it's Letitia.
Anyway, let me get to the point.
Yeah.
So that whole bank thing, right, of him because he apparently he defrauded the banks and this, right? Because he overvalued his houses for obviously tax purposes because he doesn't operate like me and you. Right. So the damages for those banks, according to the prosecuting's own teams, would have been around $95 million, right? Then in court, according to Trump's lawyer, who, I mean, I've watched on a podcast too, she doesn't seem like a person that was going to try to deceive me. Joe Biden does. You know what I'm saying? Right. George Soros does. I don't know if you know about George Soros.
Yeah.
But so Trump's lawyer has said, okay, and I don't know exactly, but like during the prosecution, during the trial or whatever with the judge, it went from 95, and then the prosecuting attorney asked for, no, now I want 355 million.
Right.
Her own team, her own analyst or whatever said, couldn't come up with where that money came from. And without challenge or nothing, the judge said yes.
Right. So
to me, it proves that the system is trying to get him.
How though?
Because there were so your own team, right? Your own team just said.
Are they trying to stick it to him? I would agree that they're trying to stick it to him. Are they trying to
but yes, they're trying to stick it to him, but they're also like, it's also pretty fucked up that you're trying to not bankrupt him, but you're trying to take a lot of his money. Like, who really, I mean, Trump is rich, right? But he's not having $1 billion in cash rich, right?
Right, but
so
here's my point, right? And I don't go ahead, finish your point. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, but because I know this is like a back and forth. I know the ideas are firing in your head.
Yeah, no.
For me though, it's like it's you got to look at why they're doing these things. The timing, it's election time coming up now. They're trying to get his money right now, and all right, if you're really certain about justice, right? The banks that he defrauded testified in court that they were not defrauded or whatever. They were paid back. There was no damages done, right? They said they have no problem with Trump. The people that supposedly were defrauded by Trump, now the prosecuting or whatever, right? They're just trying to get his money at this point. So it's like if I fuck somebody over, right? And and your lawyer, how do I explain this? Like, okay, you're the person that I fucked over, right? You're saying that, no, we're cool, right? But your lawyer is really trying to fucking get me, and the judge is trying to get me too. And so now it doesn't even matter what you say. Now you're just there for the ride. That's what I see happening.
Right. Okay.
And I see it, and I guess you can call me conspiracy, I see it that they're trying to take his money because it is election time. They're trying to fuck with his campaign. They're trying to get his money tied up, so he's fucking stressed out. He's off his game, off his rocker. And these are the things that they're gonna do. They're gonna say that he's fucking. They're gonna compare him to Hitler on TV. CNN posted they did a whole thing about how there's gonna be a bloodbath in America, right? But then completely left out the full context of what he said,
Right.
which was he wasn't even talking like crazy. He did say the word
He was
bloodbath.
talking about the auto industry. Yeah,
But this is where it gets like, yo, you
Right.
guys are purposely making him trying to knock him out. You're
but that's
purposely
what the media does.
yes, but the media is owned by the right, or I don't know why I keep saying the right.
Yeah, yeah.
By the Democratic Party.
Well, I disagree with that, but
Agree to disagree.
yeah.
But they're purposely trying to make him unappealing
And-
to the voter.
And that's the thing. See, this is where I have like a big disconnect with most people that think that they're on the left, right, or think that I'm on the left. I'm not on the left. I'm left leaning, right, because I'm with equality for all. I'm with a lot of shit that conservatives just don't agree with, right? So like that for that reason, I'm you guys over there, I'm over here, right? But at the end of the day, we both just acknowledge that Vanguard and BlackRock own every fucking thing,
Yeah.
right? And so that includes the media, right?
Yeah.
And so now when you have they want us to think that there's this dichotomy that doesn't truly exist. It doesn't truly exist.
100%.
In 2015,
100%.
when Trump and Biden were running,
That's why people are feuding over what a man is and what a woman is.
right? But in
Like-
2015, when Trump and Biden were running for president, I posted it to all on Facebook, right? I said it doesn't matter who wins in 2015, who wins the election 2016, America loses, right? And it was fucking true. It didn't matter. Or 2020, excuse me. It was 2020 between Trump and Biden. It didn't matter. We were going to lose. We lost at the end of the day. If you look at where we are, right? Not much has changed in our benefit, right? Corporations still own fucking everything, right? We're still slaves to the mighty dollar. You know what I mean? We still don't have adequate health
but
care.
we're not getting out of that hole, though. I mean, we're now funding 2 international problems. Our border's fucked up.
Right.
I mean, along with all the other issues that were already there
And they're
in
gonna be
previous
there.
administrations.
Right.
It's not, but so like Biden's not helping. And what I see now happening, right? So Trump got elected,
Mhm.
and then after Trump's term, right, Biden became the person because everybody just didn't want Trump.
Right.
Nobody wanted Biden. They just
Nobody
didn't
wanted
They
Biden.
just didn't
Right.
want Trump.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah, let me
Nobody
say that,
wanted
whatever
Biden.
the camera is. Listen, let me tell you, nobody. I did not fuck with Biden. Fuck that guy. I don't fuck with him now.
But I think it's
You know what I mean?
fucked up that
I would have
the
voted for a
media-
sock over Trump. Put it that way.
I think the media played a big part in portraying a picture of Trump that's not necessarily true.
But I got to disagree with that because as a person who actually was able to like that is insulting and to the people who like are able to like put shit together for themselves. It's insulting to my intelligence, right? Because at the end of the day, I don't need the fucking media to tell me that saying, "Oh, look at my African American over there," is some shit I would never fucking say to any black person ever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need CNN to tell me that shit. I don't need, if I walked into a room and said, look at my African American over there, and pointed to a black guy, I'd fucking probably get fucked up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'd have a problem. Like,
I understand what you're saying.
nobody says that who isn't like, you know what I'm saying? If you don't got something
So
wrong
then
with your
I'm not-
opinion,
okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
But you're one person in this country. There's a lot of fucking stupid
but wait,
people.
there are.
There's a
but-
lot of stupid people that'll take what they say and run with it.
Right, but let me go back a little bit, right? So let's go back to what you were talking about with the lawsuit, right? So now the part that you're overlooking entirely, right, is the part that opened Trump up to that whole litigation to begin with, was the fact that he committed the fraud, right? He lied, and the whole case was about him going and saying, well, he either undervalued or overvalued.
He overvalued.
Right, so he overvalued it, which is fraud, right? You can't overvalue your shit and then think like, oh, but he overvalued it in order
then-
to get
okay.
funds
There's
that he
also-
wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So that's fraud, right? And so when you overlook the action, then you can't just say, oh, well, you know what? They're trying to go after this guy because, you know, he didn't really do anything. No, he did do something. And are they trying to stick it to him? Absolutely, I agree with that. But I don't think they're trying to stick it to him just because they don't want him to be president. I think they're trying to
100%.
stick it to him just
100%.
because that's a big name fish, right? And
No.
this is something that she could make a career off of, Letitia James. If you think
'Cause
about
she-
it, right? She sued on the
Yeah,
behalf of the
on the
people of New York.
establishment.
No, but she sued on behalf of the people of the state of New York,
the
rather
people of
than
New York. I mean-
it's not a criminal matter, right?
But that word, right? The people of New York. The people of New York, regardless of how you feel and what anybody has to say, they're gonna go for Trump.
Maybe
They're gonna
so,
stick with
maybe-
Trump.
right?
And now I'm not saying that's what you believe though,
Mhm.
but I'm just saying I'm not saying that you're gonna stick with him. That's what I'm saying.
Right, right.
But the people generally, I would argue that that a majority of people in New York
Mhm.
would vote for Trump this year.
Okay,
All right. So it's not they're doing it for their own personal game. I mean,
but see, my thing
so
is,
it's like, and it's the hypocrisy of it all, right? Because then there's people like overvaluing houses and shit isn't
Mhm.
something that just Trump just did, right? I mean, what I mean by that isn't just something that Trump was the only one that did it. People
Maybe
do
so,
it.
right.
People do it all the time.
so.
There's someone that out like that. I forgot. He's on. He has his like own platform, or whatever, on mainstream media.
Yeah, I know you're talking about the shark guy, Mr. Wonderful.
No,
Kevin
not
Kevin
him.
O'Leary or
Not him.
whatever
It was
the
some
fuck
other fucking guy. I would
Okay.
know who that is. Kevin
Mhm.
O'Leary. I don't know
Yeah,
him. There was another guy who bashed Trump, right? Saying,
Mhm.
"Oh, you hurt the people of New York. You defrauded the people of New York."
Mhm.
Right? He said, "You should be in jail." This is bashing him, right?
Right.
And then came out that he did the same shit,
Okay.
but he's not in jail. And obviously, he's
But-
not a big fish like Trump.
Right.
But it's the hypocrisy of what's going on.
But
They're
now,
gonna
so if
pick
they
and
went
they're gonna
after that
pick and
guy-
choose of who they're going for, and of course they're doing it for Trump because they do not want him in office.
Maybe
I would
so.
argue that
Maybe
they don't
so.
want him in office because he's gonna take away power from the powers that be already. And who are the powers that be? Let me explain that. Let me break that down. Who are the powers that be that I'm talking? The people that are running fucking Joe Biden. That are running Joe Biden. The people that allowed those two dudes to fuck in the hearing room and it just went away. Now the dude get fired or whatever, but whatever. The same people that allowed this border fucking crisis, non-crisis, or whatever, to just spin out in the media, right? Now, even if it's not really a crisis, the division that's going on because of it was done on purpose then. If it's not a crisis, then it's
Right.
purposely a story being put out there by the Biden administration because they're going to be in
by the
control of
media,
it.
yeah,
By the media
right.
who's
And the Biden
controlled
administration.
by
Right.
that party.
But, right.
So that's that.
But now I go.
So then the establishment, mainstream media is like they're not gonna have control of him. Biden doesn't fucking dictate what's going on. This guy, he didn't even know that the White House put out a fucking a thing about Easter Sunday, right? It's Trans Visibility Day, right? He didn't know that they had spoke out about it, right? Now, I get the argument that this has been announced years ago and it just happened to fall this year, but the fact that you're not going to say nothing about Jesus and the resurrection, right? Regardless of how you feel about,
Right.
or like as a Christian country or once Christian country,
Right.
you should speak about it. I mean,
Well-
Joe Biden, the Catholic that supposedly goes to church every Sunday,
Right. But if you
so he has no idea what the fuck is going on. He's not.
I
He's not
would-
running this country.
Listen, I wouldn't disagree with that.
He's not. Okay,
Right.
so we're on the same page. He's
Right.
not running this country.
Which says a lot, though.
Exactly. It says a lot.
I voted for that guy because your guy was that bad.
And
That
now,
should say a
and now
lot.
we realize that we fucked up. This guy's worse. We need to go back. That's what's going on right now.
No.
That is literally what's going on.
This guy's bad, and that guy's bad. So somebody else needs to come and step up. But that's not going to happen.
Do I think
That's not gonna happen.
that Trump is the best we have ever done as a president and will ever do? Fuck no.
No. Right.
Because that motherfucker, he's off his rocker too.
Right.
But what I am saying is he is not as bad as what the media and what the stories come out of what they claim him to
But
be.
see, this is where it's kind of, you just had conflicting statements, right? Because you just said that the media is part of the establishment and it's owned by Democrats and that they're against Trump. But then you, in the same breath almost, you spoke about the whole migrant crisis and how they put out this story to divide the
Well, what I meant. So let me break down that point, though, and I don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I'm not saying that they made up the story. I think it's a real story, and it's something that's real that's happening. That there is a fucking crisis at our border. I mean, there's always been a crisis,
Right.
But I think it's a fucking influx now, and it's like, yo,
Right.
like, what the fuck is going on? Like,
Right.
it's an issue now. I mean, it's always been an issue, but you get the
Yes.
point I'm trying to make.
Yes.
I'm not saying that they
It's
just
more
made up a story
politicized now, right?
But what I'm saying, and I was saying it to your point, that if it's not really an influx, if it's not really a crisis, then it was just a story that now they're pumping to divide people.
Right.
And if
Right,
so,
right,
you're
right.
saying
And
that.
I agree with
so
that.
you say that.
I agree with that.
So that is being done
Right.
by the administration that is at B right now.
Okay, you could say that. I would say the media, but
The media that is
same shit,
run
either
by
way.
the
But
administration.
they're all. See, but I think differently than you do, right? So I think that they're all part of the same game, right? So Trump, Biden, the media, they're all in bed together. We're the only assholes thinking like, well, who are we sleeping with tonight? We're gonna sleep with mommy or we're gonna sleep with daddy.
So-
and we're thinking like either
Okay.
one of them is different. It's the same beast. It's the same animal.
I
brother.
get that
It's the
point.
same
So,
animal.
well, my rebuttal to that is you said that they're all a part of the same thing, right?
Mhm.
Trump, Biden, whatever.
Right.
If that were true, it would not be going after Trump
Why
like
not?
how they are, because he would be one of them, and you protect your own.
But
How many? Okay, what about the people that Epstein's fucking island? How many people that were there that there's probably evidence that they did a lot of fucked up shit that nobody talks about?
They're not going after Trump for that, right?
Because
Trump is-
that's a different story. Because I don't think Trump was really in that circle.
what I'm saying.
I
is,
mean,
right, these little-
Hillary Clinton. I'm sorry to keep cutting you off, but these
Yeah.
are just the points. Paid for the Russian collusion hoax. This had came out. This is a story that came out.
Okay.
This is something that I've researched.
Right,
Articles. You could do the same research.
Mhm.
Hillary Clinton paid for the Russian collusion hoax. That when in 2016 or whatever the fuck, maybe it was 2016 when he was running, that he was colluding with Russia to leak Hillary Clinton's emails and whatever the fuck. He was caught by Russian, right? That was a fake story put out by Hillary Clinton because she wanted to win the election. Okay.
You can argue that,
Nobody talks about that, right?
but Trump
She's
talked
not,
about
but
it the whole
she-
time.
of course, Trump
He
talks
still
about it
talks
because
about
he's
it.
against her. The point that I'm saying is that if Trump was a part of it, right,
Mhm.
they wouldn't have been going after him. Hillary, she did some fucked up shit. They're not going after her. Nancy Pelosi is a better fucking stock trader than Warren Buffett. They're not going after her.
right.
You know
But
what I'm
no,
saying? So it's
I
like
get what you said.
it's weird. Like,
Yes, they
so
take care of each other.
this is my point.
That's
right?
not a surprise, brother.
Trump is the asshole. Trump is fucked up. Trump is
Everybody needs
Hitler,
a bad
right?
guy.
Trump did all these things, right? So we need to go after him because, and this is the other side, right? Because we're good. We're trying to be good. We need to get him out because he's bad, right? But what about everybody else on their side that's equally as fucked up, worse than Trump? No, but because they're on my side, no, we're not going to talk about that. That's
No, but
what I
that's
see
not
going
true.
on. That's
not
what I see
true, though,
going on.
Because at the end of the day, they like the Democratic Party, which they got their own fucking problems, right? But they oust a lot of their people as soon as they get investigated, even. You know what I'm saying? They push them out. You had that guy, fucking George Santos, who was legit a
George
fraud.
Soros?
No, not Soros. Santos, the fucking guy who ran in Long Island and frauded. Like he fucking was a
That
complete
fucking
scam.
idiot, bro.
And the Republican
Nah, but
Party
see, but that's
refused to push
stupid
him
as-
out
that's
after
stupid.
knowing that he lied. So what I'm saying is,
let's talk like the fucking higher ups, right?
yeah, the high ups,
Like
brother, I'm
high
saying.
ups.
Right. So the high
They're
ups,
not gonna oust them because they're making too much
Right.
money.
So,
They're-
listen,
they're
Trump-
in their pocket. Trump is not in their pocket.
Trump would have never been allowed to run for president if he wasn't part of the establishment.
Anybody can
There's
run
no
for
way.
president.
Yes, but
Anybody can run for
he would
president.
not have been. You don't think they would? If he was really against the establishment, they would have killed him. And then not only that, if he was really against the establishment, he would have locked up Hillary like he campaigned the whole 2015.
How? Because
like he was gonna do.
Hillary's a part of the establishment. So how would he have locked her up?
He said he was going to do it. Right. That was one of his campaign promises.
Exactly. But he was in their game. He was in their house. You think they're gonna let him lock her up?
That was what he said, right? If he wasn't part of the establishment, then that's what he would have done. He did everything else that he wanted.
They wouldn't
without,
let him lock her up.
But he did a lot of other shit that he claimed that they wouldn't let him do. That's my point. Is what
Well,
I'm saying
I mean-
is them not letting him is all bullshit. He's
I don't know.
it's just a whole big circus, brother. They know
There's so many
It's like
things
WWE
going
at this
on.
point. They know who's gonna win before they win.
There's so many things going on.
You know what I mean?
I mean,
But that's for me, like that's the thing with me, right? Is that I kind of so I don't disagree with Trump supporters when they say Biden's a fucking shit president. Yeah, get rid of that guy. I just don't agree that your guy should be the guy to replace him. Your guy got fired for a reason. Leave that motherfucker over there. He's not the answer because
I
he
would
already
say-
had a chance and he failed.
I don't think he
That's my
failed.
only argument.
I don't think he failed.
You know what I'm
I mean,
saying?
it's just, it was not that bad. Was
To
he a
say
mean
not that
shicker? He
bad
was
is-
not that bad. But if COVID never had happened,
Nah,
shit,
brother.
if COVID never would have happened,
but it did happen.
we would have still been fine.
Right, but
Biden would have did whatever the hell he did. Maybe it would have kept going up. Maybe he would have fucked it up as he did. Who knows?
Right.
I mean, this is like we can't argue about things that never happened. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but my thing was always, and we'll move on. We'll move on after this, and you can make your rebuttal.
Right.
My point is that everything that I've seen, every piece of evidence, everything that came out, anything that I've seen on the news, or even social media clips, it was always like, oh, Trump is Hitler. He's the next in line to being Hitler, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is fucking crazy because people actually believe that shit, which I think is fucking crazy.
Yeah, they compared Obama to Hitler, but yeah.
It's fucking crazy. I just don't think that he is as bad as what people and the media make him out to be, because there's stories. Okay, you could talk about January 6th, right? People use that a lot as reason that, oh, he cannot be back in office. Look at what he did. Look at the insurrection. Look at what he did. He said he would be there. He was never there. He said we were going to march there. There's a lot of things to be said. People will use that. But then there's also conflicting views, and there's also things that came out. Okay, there was federal agents in the field during that riot, guiding people around. In Black Lives Matter protests, federal agents threw rocks in windows to start riots. It's part of their MO, which is why I made that point.
Right.
So there's always like, people will throw that, so why Trump is bad, and then there's like, okay, but like, what about this? That's like, nobody's knocking this, but nobody's talking about it. Nobody, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
what my thing is like, everything I hear about Trump, I'm not saying he's Jesus Christ.
No.
But I'm not saying, I'm saying, I don't think he's,
whataboutisms doesn't make Trump a better candidate.
I don't think, not like, what I'm saying is that there's always like, he's just not, I don't think he's that bad. I genuinely don't think he's that bad.
And
I don't think,
that's
I
fair.
think if he gets back in office, I don't think he's gonna fuck this country up worse than Biden did. I genuinely don't think that.
Okay.
All right, and that's just me from based on the podcast that I've watched, the research that I've done, the conversations that I've had. That's just on what
Right.
I've seen. What would your point? And then we'll move on.
My point would be very simple, right? So, like, a lot of people make the argument that COVID happened, right? So now, all right, so here's the thing and here's my main point when it comes to COVID, right? COVID is, let's just say COVID, let's use COVID as like, let's use the analogy of COVID being like a fire, right? So now, if you have a fire marshal, right, that allows a fucking building to burn to the ground, is that a good fire marshal? Not at all, right? That's not a good firefighter. Like, you wouldn't elect that guy to come and help you. You wouldn't want that guy to protect your house from burning, right? That's not somebody you would call to come and rescue. So at the end of the day, regardless of whatever catastrophe you want to use as an excuse for whatever Trump's failures were, right? You can do that. But he was the person in charge, right? So if my house burns down and I call you to come and put the fire out, yeah, and you don't put it out and my house burns to the ground, yeah, you're not really the guy you know what I'm saying? Like, that I need. So just using that bait, then that's really a simple analogy. But at the end of the day, like, that's really what it all boils down to, right? Like, if you're not the guy that's really gonna actually come in and fix shit, then you get the fuck out of here. And that's really all I had to say about that.
Walter, how much have we got? All right, we'll do another 10.
Yeah.
So now we got politics out of the way. Let's move on to something that I think will. It's still controversial, but I think we might be on the same
You
page.
want to get Diddy in it. You want to get Diddy on it. You want to get the Diddy diddling.
The fucking diddler.
You want to get the diddler rolling. Yeah, the diddler's been rolling off your tongue all night. Yeah.
Let's talk about homosexuality, even being transgender.
Okay.
Right? Do you think that is nature or nurture?
That's 100% nature, right? Because and I'll tell you why, right? Why I believe that. It's very simple. And anybody watching this podcast or at home listening or whatever, however they're going to see this, right? Anyone that comes across this, I just want you to ask yourself, who had to teach you to like men or women or both or whoever you like, right? If you're a person that's at home and you are attracted to dolphins, nobody had to teach you to be attracted to dolphins. No one had to teach you to go out and, you know what I mean? Like you know what? I feel a certain way when I'm around men, or I feel a certain way when I'm sexually aroused when I'm around, horses, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one has to teach you that, right? So there's no way, like the part of the brain that it actually sexuality develops in is it's the hypothalamus, right? And so you can't really fuck with that part of the brain, and you know what I mean? It's not really like subjectable to like, outside like fucking manipulation.
Okay.
Right? So you can't teach somebody to be gay, right? In the same way that you can't teach somebody to be straight, right? And the best argument for that and the best proof of that is if you could teach somebody, or if people had to be taught to be gay, where did the first gay person learn to be gay from? You know what I'm saying? Like,
okay,
so it doesn't make sense.
what I would say to that, right, is where I'm at. I think that is very much nature, right? There's been gays and transgenders all throughout fucking history.
Right.
I mean, we could track this shit back to fucking Greek times. I mean, there was a fucking group that the Spartans were afraid of,
Right.
and it consisted of fucking of male lovers, right? And they were badass. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So this goes back a long fucking time.
They were all dick and balls, literally.
What I see now, though, and I don't know, I might be wrong. I think what's happening now is that it's definitely nature, right? Nobody can dispute that. It is what it is. I'm not gonna get religious though about it.
Right.
I do think now though, it's becoming a thing where nurture is playing a role, because we see things in and I, you know, maybe not, and I'm willing I'm willing to be open to this argument as well, because we could only see in the future. But you see in kids programming nowadays, a lot of weird things going on with pronouns, and you know, you got two male fathers, and it's the baby, and kids programming, and I don't see nothing wrong with that. I mean, we both know this, but I just got to make sure for people listening, I don't have a problem with homosexuality.
Right.
What I do have a problem with, however, though, is the fact that, and I see this a lot, is that you're trying to shove it in front of my face and say that I have to be with you. I have to be with you. If I don't support you, I hate you.
Yeah,
that I don't stand,
that's
because
wrong.
like if you want to do what you got to do,
Right.
I don't give a fuck. Like
Right, do what you do.
I really don't.
Right.
But don't, and I don't have kids, but don't come over here, and if I had a kid, and come to my kid with that shit either. And you know what I'm saying? If I don't know you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, so for me,
More so the transgender side. But what I see now is you see a lot of, you know, these kid shows. There's stories of drag queen story time.
Right.
I see transgender visibility day put out by the White House.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of getting. I mean, companies will make more money. Companies are allowed to take out more loans if they have gays, minorities, mentally disabled, et cetera. Right? Anything that's like not white male, literally. They make more money. So it's incentivized to push this out.
Right.
And is there an argument that could influence a child's behavior? I would say yes. And I would say yes. And I mean, I'm open to being wrong. You know what I mean? This is not something that I'm like, I religiously am holding down my 2 feet. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But do I see them promoting it a lot? Yes. And is it something that they should be? I don't think it is. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't think it is. I think a child should naturally come to that conclusion. You know what I mean? And when it gets to the point where now you're putting that above God, now we have an issue. Because I don't have a problem with it, but the fact that you're not going to say shit about Jesus being resurrected, he is risen. You're not going to say shit about that, but the White House is going to talk about this.
Well,
I see a problem with that.
Yeah, but all right. So now when you have the White House, which is a government body, right, and you have a separation of church and state, right, then they're technically not allowed to say shit like that, right? So because then if I'm Jewish or I'm Muslim, right, and you come out and say something about like Christianity, why wouldn't you do the same for Muslims, right? Why wouldn't you say something about Allah or whatever the Jews call their, you know what I'm saying? Like that. I forgot the word for it, but you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day,
Yahweh,
right? So I mean, at the end of the day, like, so they have to kind of like. But I get what you're saying, like,
I do get your point as well. I mean, and where I am with that though is that there are people in the government that say Ramadan Kareem, or I'm sorry if I butchered that, but for the Muslim holiday, they put out something for that,
right?
But when it comes down to Jesus and Christianity and Catholicism, nothing to be said. Now, again, I don't want to make it seem like I have a problem with these things existing. 100% not. But like the same way we don't allow kids to get tattoos when they're 4 years old and not play GTA and not drink alcohol and smoke weed and listen to rap music is because why? They tell us the mind is easily corruptible. When we first started this, I said when I was younger, everybody around me was feeling this way about Trump. So I literally just felt that way and didn't question a single thing.
Right.
That happens to everybody at a young age. I'm not gonna say everybody,
but that's
majority.
Not gonna make you go to suck dick, bro.
No. I'm not saying that.
Sorry.
But the way
that ain't gonna happen like that.
If it's all you
20
know,
drag queens tell you stories. If you're not into guys, you're not gonna sleep with another guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just
I
saying.
don't know. I think it's both nature and nurture at this point.
You
know what
got
I'm saying?
guys that go to jail and get raped, you know what I'm saying, like multiple times, and they come home and they're not gay. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, that's the reason why I'm so adamant about it being like, you can never teach me to be gay. I don't give a fuck what you do. You could do, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care. We're the only person. I'm the only person put on a fucking island somewhere with a bunch of dudes. And the only way to get my shit off is to go. I'm gonna fucking just not get my shit off. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way.
So what about the idea of? Because what I think I'm arguing is more so the trans side than the gay side. You know what I'm saying?
But even the trans, right? So like,
because
what they're doing is they're just representing these people in a market or a field that they're not being represented, and that's all it is. Like we live in a country that claims and champions being inclusive and we're for everyone, come one, come all, and all this other bullshit. And so when they kind of have to live up to it, that's when people are like, oh no, whoa, wait a minute, not those motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? So. It exposes the ugly truth of this country that we're not really that inclusive. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, I would say nowadays we really are. Because, I mean, you say some shit about somebody. If you call someone he and she wants to be considered she, that's sexual harassment.
Look at Diddy. I've been wanting to talk about Diddy all night. Look at the diddler. Diddy hasn't been accused of it. Like, he hasn't, I mean, he was in court with this Cassie chick and he had to pay the settlement, right? But they haven't proved anything against him yet, right? There's been nothing but allegations and speculation and rumors, and people are already writing him off to be like this fucking Epstein guy.
Yeah,
there's no evidence at all as of yet, but people are writing him off. Yeah. And then you got a guy like Trump who was found liable and was made to pay.
You couldn't say guilty.
No, I can't say guilty because it's not a criminal case, right? So he was found liable, which is the equivalent of being found guilty in a court of law, which not really, because in the court of law,
I get
you have to operate beyond a reasonable doubt. And in a civil case, it's just a preponderance of evidence.
When it comes to there's also evidence that was not allowed into the courtrooms for multiple cases. I mean, Biden has done a lot of the shit that Trump did, hold files in his house.
He wasn't accused.
But because he's a part of the establishment.
Okay,
this is a different story. Transgenderism, though, right?
Yeah.
As a kid, I mean, you might go to your school counselor and you say, I feel this way, whatever. And they talk to you and this, and then you're hearing stories of this. You're hearing this guy on stage and he has a wig on and he's telling you this. Kids' minds are easily corruptible. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, I get you're saying that, and again, I'm open to the argument. So I'm just making this argument as for conversation's sake. I mean, kids are easily corruptible, and they hear about this. They don't know how they're feeling. Next thing you know, they tell their family, "Yo, like I think I'm a girl. I think I want to be a girl." And then the parents, however they are in the head, say, "Okay, let's go." The doctors aren't going to stop it. They said, "Go right ahead. Let's snip it."
But like, look,
or let's put it inside out. Whatever the process is.
Practical shit, right? So your cousin, my son, Jace, right? He's 6 years old. He saw two boys kissing on TV. And then his mom said to him, well, what do you think about that? He said, I think that's gross. Right? So she didn't tell him, you're wrong for thinking that. Nobody taught him that.
Joanne, that's a good environment to be around. And I mean, you also are his role model.
No, but like Joanne's, like she's always been that, like, open, like, listen, don't try. She was always, because for me, I'm the type of person I'm going to let my children, I don't teach them about anything. Religion, listen, you want to learn about religion, you're going to do that on your own. I'm not going to, because that's the whole nurture versus nature thing, right? Like nature, you don't have to learn, nobody has to teach you who to like. In religion, they have to teach you about God. If it was actually something that was innate in us, then you wouldn't have to learn about it. No one would have to teach you about it, right? So when it comes to sexuality, it's more natural than religion is, right? And more natural than the concept of God, right? So I don't teach my kids about that.
Are you religious?
No, not at all.
So you don't believe in God?
No. I'm agnostic.
You're agnostic?
So I don't believe.
Can we get another 10 minutes so I can break this down? Is that okay? 5?
Go.
You're agnostic. Yes. Why are you agnostic? What is your
Because what I don't know, right? And
what you don't know, you don't know.
What I don't know is based off of other people not knowing, right? And so at the end of the day, if you don't know, I'm not going to just assume. Like, so for me, it's the audacity of man to even claim to comprehend the word of God or even such a being as God, right? Like,
I'm with you, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think man has the we could barely
Okay.
comprehend fucking, how the internet works sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So
you
we're
need to
not-
tell
one-
me you're gonna comprehend the word of God, an
100%.
all-knowing, all-seeing being? Get the fuck out of here.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Where I'm at, right? And I used to be atheist. I didn't believe there was a God at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came to be. I'm not gonna say I'm very religious. I want to say I'm religious. I'm a follower of God, and I try to be like Jesus because Jesus is a role model. Whether you think he's real or not, he's a figure. He's a role model. I mean, people look up to fucking Captain America, and he's not real. You know what I'm saying? So he's a figure to be, inspired by because of what he represents. So when I look at books like the Bible and the Quran, and I read both, and the Torah and whatever the Hindus believe, right? When I look at these, I look at them as kind of like manuals. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, the Bible, right, is a series of books written down by people that have encounters with Jesus and God, and then wrote about it, right? Supposedly, yes, exactly.
Right.
I was about to say that. Supposedly,
because there's
but
several
now
books
I
that
take
none of them
what
met Jesus.
I take away, like, okay, whatever. If you think it's real or not, just look at it for what they're trying to say it is. Look at it for what it's supposed to be. What they're trying, even if it's a fallacy, look at it for what they're trying to manipulate into seeing. If that's the way you want to look at it, right?
Right.
So I look at the Bible and I look at what it says, and then I apply these things, and then what could go wrong for love thy neighbor. Love thyself, respect your parents. Nothing wrong comes out of that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, there's certain things that, people would argue that are a little controversial. Then that goes into interpretation,
Right.
which is a different story. But I think we could agree that there is a higher power.
Right. I mean, I don't know what there is out there. Right. So
then I would.
what if God's name was Steve? You know what I'm saying?
So
Saying
what-
Steve bless you
let's look
sounds
at-
pretty fucking stupid, right?
Let's
You know
let's
what
look
I'm
at
saying?
these things, right? Order and design doesn't come from nothing. Would we
Right.
agree on that? It doesn't come from nothing, right?
Right.
So the Big Bang,
Mhm.
the start of all of this order and design, the fact that we have suns and planets revolve around the suns and then they have
Well,
smaller
the Big Bang
moons.
theory goes against religion, right? Because
But-
they say God created everything. The Big Bang theory is
Says it happened from nothing.
right.
So
that
what?
it-
And you just said nothing. Order and design cannot come from nothing.
Right. But so now, all right.
So the Big Bang theory is wrong. Supposedly.
Not that it's wrong, but so my problem with religion, right, is that
No.
they
Let's
all
forget
start-
religion because you
but
shouldn't.
But it
no,
is.
no, no.
But even God, but the
Fuck
concept
religion.
of the concept of God comes from religion, right? That's where it stems from. And so if you're gonna try to teach me about this being that you claim to know and have the word of, then how is it that you don't like? So why is it that every single religious book is written from the perspective of man, right? Every single one of them. They all start at the same starting point, right? But it starts vaguely describing on how the cosmos were created, right? And on the seventh day he rested. Okay, but you can go into depth on how man was created. You could do that in like 3 or 4 different like verses or whatever the fuck they call them, right? Or chapters, right? You could go into that in detail, in great detail, right? And that's because they know where, like there's ancient African stories of the first man being created, Adamu, right, at Adam's calendar, which is in East Africa, right? So they have these stories so if you're going to have the word of God, right, then why doesn't it start from, no one thought to ask him, why did you create the cosmos? How were the
You said
stars
it. You said it yourself.
know what I'm
Why wouldn't man is not built to understand what God is, what God would.
Right.
Like I said, what God would say.
How can you comprehend the word of God?
Because of course, the word of God, right? The Bible, that is the word of God, right? And then when you say word of God, that is not words written down by God. That is not the words written down by God. That is the word written down by the disciples of Jesus and his
Who never met God. Who
encounters.
never met Jesus. Some of them never even met Jesus, by the way.
All of his disciples
No,
met Jesus.
No.
For
Some
you,
of the
for
books- some of the books-
for you to say that is crazy because
No.
he literally had a dinner called the Last Supper with all of his disciples.
But no, I'm sorry. I'm missing.
Let me explain this, right? Because
we gotta get out of here.
Yeah. So it's all like, okay, so this is how I look at it, and I'm gonna share with you my belief on things, right? And this is why I said fuck religion, follow God, follow Jesus, right? And Jesus, I just use Jesus as an example. Follow Allah for all I care, because
Right.
to me
I
they're
know
all
what you
one
mean.
and the same thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you said it yourself. All these religions have vaguely the same, similar stories, right? So let's say I have a time travel machine, right? And I go back and I give these people an iPhone, these fucking apes, an iPhone, and I say, okay, teach me how to work this. And I show them my password, and I show them, you just got to call me, and then I'll answer your call, you know what I mean, and then show you what to do, right? If I gave them, they would, and I gave it to the Indians and the Chinese, and even though they weren't around at that time, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get your point.
If I express myself to different people along the world that speak different languages, they're going to interpret me differently and write stories about me and write books. Now, I would argue that, and I wholeheartedly believe if you follow what the Bible says, you will have an interaction with God. Or I've had interactions with God. Like he hasn't spoken my fucking ear and said, hey, don't do that. But prayer works. Now, prayer works for me because I believe that he's listening and he's going to show me and he's going to give to me what he wants. It's not
right.
This I don't want to get too far off track, but it's all about where you put your belief in. You know what I'm saying? And I think you should put your belief somewhere and not nowhere. You know what I'm saying? And I look at the Bible, okay, this is the manual for the iPhone that I can understand. I don't understand what the Quran says sometimes. I read it, I try to, but that shit might as well be a manual for fucking in Chinese, trying to tell me how to work an iPhone.
Right.
I only know where the power button is because of the because of the images. You know what I'm saying? So my programming, because I live in America, I'm more. The Bible helps me. It helps me build that connection. Helps me get through that door. That I'm never gonna understand fully.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because we're humans. We're not meant to understand what God is, where He is, what that means. You know what I'm saying? But He is real, and I don't think, and it's like because you said He's agnostic, so He's real. So I'm not saying that you have to just say you have to dive deep into the Bible and say this is the Word of God. This is everything. I mean, because you can't do that starting off first. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, as someone who says you don't trust religion, you don't trust Christianity.
Well, I mean, but I just find it, I think it's like kind of ridiculous. Like, it's like, so to suggest to read the Bible to prove that God exists is like reading comic books, like Superman comic books to prove that Superman
I wouldn't
exists.
say read the Bible to, I wouldn't say read the Bible.
Like, it's kind of like,
I wouldn't say read the Bible to prove God exists. I would say pray to prove God exists.
You, man. I got you. Well, listen, we got to probably do a part 2 to this because
nah, definitely. We'll get out of here.
We're like running over time and shit.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sorry, Walter. Sorry. All right, guys. We're definitely gonna continue this. I might have to do a whole episode about religion and God and whatnot. But this was a good episode. I really enjoyed you coming on. I appreciate your time.
Thank
I know I know it took you a while.
Yeah.
I know this was a nice conversation, nice back and forth. Guys, thank you for watching if you made it this far.
Yep.
If you heard all our jokes about the diddler, I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. I hope you guys are trying to follow your dreams, trying to start something new, trying to build a better life for yourself. You know what I'm saying? I hope you guys are staying in the gym, trying to take care of your body, your mind, because that's what's important. I hope you guys are keeping your family close, because that's also important. And I just hope you're taking care of yourselves. And that's really it. That's all I ever want for anybody that's choosing to take their time to listen to me. Because I don't want you to listen to me talking about the diddler for no reason. You know what I'm saying? Right. So on that note, again, thank you for watching. We'll see you guys on the next episode, all right?